In time, there appeared one who hungered to make that knowledge theirs, and theirs alone. One who would come to be known as the Knight's Nexus.
Maintaining the crystal's power was the sacred duty of the House of Musa. We have carried out the ceremony by means of which it is restored every 200 years since time immemorial.
That thing is horrible!
Fools! Imbeciles! To defy me is futile. To stand against me is to stand against the tyrant. I am all memory, all knowledge, all that exists.
In our last exploration of the Knight's Nexus, we discussed many aspects of its nature. Who it was before it became the Nexus, the horrible truth that drove that person into madness and obsession, the source of its power, and of course the many people who were affected by it, which led us to the proof of Seth and the player's purposes within the story. But since then, a few more truths regarding the Nexus have been revealed. I have already mentioned some of them in past videos, but I wanted to coalesce them into a proper lore video, alongside another observation I have made. This isn't going to be nearly as in-depth as the first, since we already solved most of the mysteries before this. Let's treat this more like an appendix. And if you have not seen the first video yet, I highly advise watching that first, then coming back to this one. But otherwise, if you're ready, then let us explore the Knight's Nexus a little deeper. Welcome to part 2. Eyes are a very central motif to the Knight's Nexus. For one, it's the sensor that allows us to most commonly gain knowledge, to witness the world around us. Every depiction of the Nexus, aside from its own form, displays a myriad of eyes, held together by a mass of darkness. This is shown in Gloria and Gwydion's retellings of the Nexus's history, as well as the red painting and the dark fresco that were created by Foley in Chapter 2. Ironically enough, the actual form that the Nexus takes has its eyes completely covered, in both forms. But perhaps that's because it doesn't need physical eyes to see anymore. Its powers can go beyond that mortal necessity.
All has been foreseen. All has been anticipated.
That being said, there is a very good chance that all of this focus on eyes throughout the game was meant to draw our attention elsewhere. You see, there was something that not many had noticed until it was revealed in a developer interview around the time that Bravely Default 2 was being ported to Steam. This cover art? That is not Gloria. It's Inanna. Look at her eyes. Purple. Gloria does not have purple eyes. Hers are more hazel. And why would Gloria be in possession of the Librarian Asterisk, something Elvis typically carries? Once more, the Bravely team have put their villain on the front cover, and we didn't even know it. We now know Inanna's form before she became the Knight's Nexus, and that she looks nearly identical to her descendant, Gloria. Or rather, Gloria looks like the Nexus, which may explain one reason why Seth feels attracted to Gloria as he once was to Inanna. And to those still uncertain of Seth being the black-haired companion because his hair is a bit brown in-game, there's another piece of art I'd like to direct your attention to. But if Gloria and Inanna are similar in appearance, could there be more to it? I said at the end of the last video that Foley had some odd connections to the Nexus, and I believe I finally have an answer to it. First, the paintings. Inside the final cave dungeon of Chapter 2, the party comes across a number of paintings on the walls, 3 in total, 1 for each of the primary colors. Afterwards, upon reaching Foley, they find her in the middle of making some eldritch horror mural that emits blinking eyes. At first glance, you may assume that they are just abstract pieces. pay a little more attention to them, and there are patterns to be found. The first painting, for example. It resembles a series of red and purple lights on blue lines and branches. This is actually a painting of Magmel, the final town of the game. It is abstract in nature, but it is certainly an image of Magmel, or is meant to represent it at least. Recall that Magmel is where Inanna and Seth traveled to in the past, in search of knowledge. The second painting also depicts a location, Esmeralda's chambers. This one is slightly more noticeable from the lines of dots that match up with designs from her room, and again, this would be a place of importance to Inanna, as she was close friends with Esmeralda during her time in Magmel. The third painting is not of a location, but as we said earlier, it is covered in eyes. This is the moment the Knight's Nexus took Inanna's place, where she became an all-consuming, knowledge-hungry monster. And so naturally, the mural within Foley's final chamber is some strange attempt at reviving the Knight's Nexus. This may seem very assumptuous, but it still fits within the frame of the Nexus's actions. Remember, Edna was entirely consumed by the Nexus's hatred and was essentially brainwashed into freeing it because it made her believe the humans needed to pay. While Foley may not fully realize what she is doing, she does appear to have the same level of obsession with her artwork that Edna displayed in freeing the Nexus.
My masterpiece is to be given the gift of life!
But then why, of all people, of all the asterisk holders in the game, is Foley the one who is getting this special treatment? Well, I believe it has to do with that question of similarity between Inanna and Gloria. I have reason to believe that Inanna was particularly versed in painting, and that this particular talent rubbed off on the Pictomancer asterisk during her time in Magmel. Remember, asterisks in Excellent collect and store the memories of their users to enhance future wielders, and Inanna was introduced to the asterisks and allowed to use them. This would explain why some of her memories would pass down through that one asterisk that Inanna was personally connected with, leading to inspiring its future holder. And from that, I propose Inanna and Gloria's similarities do not stop at looks alone. After all, when asked by Adele in the side quest The Big Brush Off which hobby Gloria was best at,
I suppose if you were to insist on an answer, I would have to say painting.
So, if Gloria has inherited not just her ancestors' appearance, but her skill in painting as well, what else could have been passed along? After all, compare Foley's story to Inanna's discovery of forbidden knowledge, and see how Gloria responds.
Of course no one understood my gift. Either that or they were jealous of it. I had this magnificent talent, and no one to share it with. I became angry. Very angry.
Well, whoever this is certainly isn't lacking in ego.
But can you imagine? Finally discovering something that brings you joy, only for your life to remain as miserable as ever. I can certainly sympathize with their frustration.
Based on the game's true ending, one could read this as the beginning of a new cycle. If Gloria is more alike to Inanna than we first thought, then this could possibly be the new beginning. Gloria and Seth are together, then Gloria learns the truth about her world being a video game, she becomes the Knight's Nexus, tosses Seth back out into the outer oceans, and he returns a millennium later to deal with Gloria as the whole cycle begins anew. Now, this theory is a bit stretching for sure, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility.
Hear me, Nexus. It is not your knowledge that mankind fears. It is your greed. Your insatiable need to consume all that we remember. All that we hold dear.
Granted, even if that were the case, at least we now know how to defeat the Nexus once and for all. Another motif within the game is the word ages, something else that was brought up in the developer interview. You may have noticed at a cursory glance that the last few chapters of the game were all titled alike: Twin Ages, Twin Cages, and finally Twin Pages. Twin Ages likely refers to how the Nexus cannot be killed and another sacrifice is being made, the same events happening in different ages of history. Twin Cages is a bit more clear, referring to Elvis and Adele's separate cages as they part eternally at the gates of Magmel. Twin Pages, however, has two sets of meanings. The first is the more obvious one, being that the Heroes of Light discover that they must destroy the Librarian Asterisk if they want to defeat the Nexus for good. The other relates to the fact that the player must be involved with the party in order for this to happen. Each letter in Pages represents a different member. Player, Adele, Gloria, Elvis, Seth. Without the player, the Nexus will never die. This also takes us back to the Ages motif. Eileen, Godric, Emma, Sloane, each name matching the initial of their successor. Since the last group of heroes were missing the player, they were not able to finish the job. But hey, if you still don't believe, maybe have another quick listen to the final boss theme one more time. Well, that about covers all the points I had. Unless more gets revealed, or we get a sequel or DLC, or any other really buried secrets come to light, I think this may be the end of the road. I do wish I could have figured out what the gravestones say up on the side of the main building in Musa, but it's just too blurry for me to translate. It's in fairy script though, I can make out that much. Since we're here, I'll toss in an extra little note. When Elvis has the book open, you can actually make out the text inside. Want to know what it says? Alright, but first you gotta like and subscribe. Alright, done? It just says Bravely Default Flying Fairy and Bravely Second. That's all. I thought it'd be a fun one for everyone to learn. But that is the end of my explorations into the Knight's Nexus. If something big comes up, you can be sure there will be another vid, but I highly doubt it now. Either way, thank you for watching, have a good one, and I'll see you soon.